Hello everyone, it's EpicSimmingHD and welcome back to another video. If you're just starting out with flight simulators or just wondering what they are, then you've come to the right place. Now a little background on myself since credibility is very important. I've been simming on and off since 2009 or 2010 and I've logged many hours on many different flight simulators. However, I am just one person. There are many types of flight simulation enthusiasts. There are the kinds that like to fly from point A to point B in a complex jet aircraft such as a Boeing 737 or A320. And there are also the kinds of flight sim enthusiasts that enjoy going up in a small general aviation aircraft such as the Cessna 172, which is arguably the most famous general aviation aircraft in history. There is also the simmer that like to join a multiplayer session and joke around with their friends, escort a Boeing 747 to land on an aircraft carrier. I think you get the point. There is no defined flight simmer. The world of flight simulation is an open world that allows you to do whatever you'd like. You can even cross the Atlantic in a cargo ship if you want. That's the magic of this whole thing. You can fly wherever you want on the globe from your desk in front of a computer. Now, one last thing we must do before we get started is describe a word. I actually don't think it's a real word in the dictionary, but I am of course talking about the word add-on. An add-on is an addition to your sim. It could be an aircraft purchased for the simulator from an aircraft maker such as PMDG or Precision Manuals Development Group. It could also be a scenery. Now this could be a specific airport like Los Angeles Airport for example, or a region like Northern or Southern California. It could also be a tool like a weather engine that generates clouds and winds from real world data. An add-on can be purchased for free or from the internet. Now this is either called a freeware add-on if it's free, or a payware add-on if it's, for money. Alright, now that we have that out of the way, let's get into the actual software you can use for flight simulation. The three most popular pieces of software available for purchase today are Microsoft Flight Simulator X Steam Edition, or FSX for short, Prepared 3D version 4 or P3D v4 for short, and X-Plane 11. FSX is the cheapest flight sim, and I would like to say that this is the best if you're just starting out and want to get your feet wet in the world of flight simulation. Since the summer sale should be coming up soon, it will likely be discounted and you can pick it up for next to nothing. Buy a joystick for $25. I'll leave a link to one in the description that doesn't look too bad, but let's just get this out of the way that I've never actually used that product, so I don't actually know if it's any good, but just from the looks of it, it looks like you can get started with that, and it's not too expensive, so it's not going to break the bank. And then you're set after that. Configure your settings and you're good to go. I'll be doing a video in the next couple of days setting up and configuring FSX, so subscribe to the channel and keep your eyes peeled for that video. The great thing about FSX is that it doesn't really require a very beefy computer to get it running with no add-ons, and it's just a fun simulator. It's that simple. However, the downside to FSX is that it's an older product. So that means that it's a 32-bit simulator since it was made in 2006, and it can only use 4 GB of your system memory. So if you max out the 4 GB of memory, then the sim will have an out-of-memory error or an OOM. This is almost impossible on stock FSX. However, if you buy some complex scenery and aircraft add-ons, then you begin to brush up against that 4 GB limit pretty fast. So if you're in it for the long run, you may want to consider the next two options, X-Plane 11 or P3D. So let's talk about Prepared 3D version 4. I would consider this to be a more enthusiast-based simulator, and the price varies depending on which license you get. But as opposed to FSX, Prepared 3D version 4 is a 64-bit simulation and has a lot of graphical additions out of the box that FSX does not have. Personally, I would say it is better optimized than FSX for modern hardware, and I think many people would agree with me on that. The best, most amazingly, if that's even a word, modeled aircraft are available for this simulator. These are add-ons, of course. The level of detail that some of these aircraft have are absolutely incredible. If you want to look at some of these aircraft, I recommend that you check out PMDG for starters. They have some of the most detailed jetliners you can buy. However, to learn these complex aircraft, you need to do some learning, of course. I know how to fly a great deal of PMDG aircraft, but I never read the extensive manuals that come with the aircraft. If you are great at observing, then you can learn via YouTube videos. Nowadays, there are a lot of real pilots also simulating, and you can often find great videos or Twitch streams by pilots who fly simulated aircraft just like it's the real thing. It's absolutely incredible. Now, one downside to P3D is that it's very expensive if you want to absolutely kit out your simulator with the best add-ons. Not only aircraft add-ons, but also visual enhancements, sceneries, and different tools. However, all this stuff can be accumulated over time, which makes the overall cost a lot easier to bear. A few aircraft can be over $100. For example, the FS Labs A320, the most detailed A320 simulation you can get on any platform, is $140 for P3D. That's a lot of money. However, this is the best of the best. Most aircraft range from the $40 mark to about $70. One thing I need to add before we move on to the next simulator, X-Plane 11, is that P3D and FSX are pretty easy to break if you just throw as many add-ons as you can into the simulator. Now by break I mean you could have stuttering issues, FPS issues, or just general instability with your simulator. So choose your add-ons wisely, back up the files if required, and then run the simulator after each add-on installation. It's a tedious process, but you kind of need to get it done in order to have a stable and good looking simulator. Okay, so now let's get into X-Plane 11. X-Plane 11 is about $60 and is on Steam. However, I recommend that you get it directly from their website, since you can support them more that way since Steam takes a cut of the profits. A lot of people say that flying FSX or P3D feels like you're flying on rails. However, X-Plane 11 is very realistic in terms of its flight dynamics. X-Plane 11 uses something called blade element theory. A direct quote from their website, xplane.com, states, "Blade element theory involves breaking the aircraft down into many small elements, then finding the forces on each little element many times per second. These forces are then converted into accelerations, which are then integrated into velocities and positions." Now, I'm no aerospace engineer, but to me that sounds like every flight surface has its own independent effect on the aircraft. You can buy add-ons for X-Plane 11 just as you can for the other two simulators, however you need to be careful. A lot of add-ons for X-Plane 11 and the other two simulators, I guess, I just notice it more in X-Plane, are pretty poorly modeled. So I recommend that you get a lot of research done in order to make sure you're not getting ripped off. That being said, the entry costs to X-Plane are a lot less than they are for P3D if you want a really good looking simulator. There are a lot of really good freeware sceneries for X-Plane, including ortho scenery. With the program Ortho 4XP, you can create photogenic scenery yourself for free, not including hard drive space, which you will need a lot of if you want to, make a lot of regions. X-Plane 11 also has a free demo, which I think is a really good part because it allows you to just try out the simulator, see how it runs, see how it flies, etc. Okay, so now that we have the main three simulators out of the way, I think it's time to address the elephant in the room. Microsoft Flight Simulator 2020. This simulator is expected to be released later in the year and is supposedly going to be the best simulator out there. However, the truth is that we don't really know. It could be very good and something that we use for the rest of eternity, or it could be something that we use for a month and then discard. Hey, does anyone remember Flight Sim World? Here's the thing. Most if not all add-ons you purchase for any simulator will likely not work with Microsoft Flight Sim 2020. In fact, you might have to rebuy a lot of these add-ons. So if you really like the preview videos and you think that you will not fly any other simulator once this comes out, you may want to wait before you invest in Flight Sim, because that's really what you're doing. You're investing in your sim and your experience by buying these add-ons, flight controls, computers, monitors. You're just investing in your experience. So I guess you're beginning to see the big picture at this point. Each simulator has their negatives and each their positives, their own mission if you will. I didn't go over everything in this video, maybe I will in a future one, but it really comes down to what you like. Just don't hate on one simulator if you don't use it. Try it. You can download the demo for X-Plane. If you don't like P3D, you can refund it within 30 days, and FSX can be refunded on Steam within Steam's timeframe. Flight simulation can be as expensive or cheap as you want. You can spend $100 or $1,000 or $2,000 or $3,000. I think you get the point though. My FSX guide will be coming out in a few days for those of you who want to give it a try, and I really think if you want to get your feet wet and you don't want to spend too much money, but you just want to get a feel for flying, I think that's a pretty good first try, I guess you could say. The last thing I'm going to go over is the vast amount of content available for Flight Sim. By content, of course, I mean YouTube and Twitch. Now, of course, you got my channel, but you've also got many other brilliant Flight Sim channels. Now, I'm not going to go ahead and list all of them because that would take way too long. So go ahead and search YouTube for Matt Davies, Frugal Sim, Musical Aviator, and more. On Twitch, look for Matt Davies, he's on there as well, Brad M, Citation Max, Chewy94, and myself. Shameless plug. I'm going to leave you with one last piece of advice. Enjoy the simulation and don't waste your money. Carefully decide which add-on will help you and look great, instead of impulse buying. And most importantly, have fun. Whether it's tweaking your sim to get the most out of it or flying at 39,000 feet in a Boeing 767, it's all here. On behalf of myself and everyone else in the Flight Sim community, I welcome you. Take care, everyone.